bio mother was always involved and dated the authority that was around me, whether that was a principal, a campus security guard, a doctor of mine, someone on a child protective services case, and that includes a chief of police that was coming into my room at night when I was 13, 14.
How young were you when this started?
CPS reports say that I was 3 months old. I remember as far back as to when I was 4, the first time that I was in shock from something that happened to me, the first time that it was just too much for me to handle. And at that time, I didn't know it was so much that was already in the family, and I was always told, what happens in the family stays in the family. We were always taken away from certain people if we talked too much. So there were so many things going on within the home, from her and other people in the family doing so many things, besides doing things to their own children. So it was something that I always felt there's something wrong, but I was always told it was normal what was going on. But yeah, I was about 4 years old the first time I was assaulted. I was with my babysitter, and this woman as well had many connections to what I call my surrogate. I don't call her anything close to a mom. I have a real mom that I'm adopted by now, but I don't call her anything close to a mother. But she was involved in many ways. I was with a babysitter that kept trying to take me into a room, that kept trying to get me to lay down with her boyfriend. And that's the one day that I remember fighting. I remember screaming so loud. I thought I was 6 years old, but looking back into legal documents, I was 4. And I remember after being hurt, I was locked in a room, and because I was fighting, and then I was put outside to sit in a driveway for hours because I was told it was my fault. After that, it was taken to court. It was the first thing that I remember that was taken to court because the bruises were so bad, everything that happened was so bad that it had to be. And the court case, I remember sitting in the courthouse, and I remember her losing the case, and it being my fault that something happened to me. So, from there, things continued, and, being 4 in a court case and not knowing why you're in trouble for somebody hurting you. Moving on from there, I was confused about everything that happened. Is this okay? I started asking questions when I hit elementary and middle school with other students, like, how do you get in trouble? Is this something that happens to you? Because it was always something that happened to me. I was always told I was the favorite. I was told I was the one that everybody loved more, and nothing about that was love. Going on, I was so much that I was working in clubs by 12 years old. I was very confused, but to be honest, because I didn't know any better, I was very hyper as well. And by 13, when because at first it was just her boyfriends coming into my room at night, and then when the police officers came into play, they were taking me in my own closet and hurting me with the hangers and the things that were in my own closet. And then, I started running a lot. I started fighting a lot. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted the pain to stop. So I just I tried everything because it was always my fault. It was always something that I did. It was always, they loved me more, and this was something that I deserved. And after I started running so much with her dating police officers, married police officers, he started calling his friends to pick me up. He started calling his friends to meet me somewhere. They would pick me up as an officer on duty, and they would take me somewhere behind rocks. They would take me to empty car dealerships and park their cars the wrong way. No one questions them. No one, anywhere, everybody can say, no one questions the police. If you see them sitting the wrong way, if you see them doing something and you see them with somebody, you automatically assume that they did something wrong and that the police are going to fix it and that they're there to serve and protect. And that's not always the case. I know that there are some good officers, but they're very few and far in between. And there's another side of the badge, and it's called the Freeman Brotherhood police, the Freeman cops. And they do a lot of corrupt things. They bury a lot of things. They bury a lot of evidence. They do things and they get away with it. And covering up for elite to low level. Everybody looks at the top, but covering all the way from the top to the bottom and in the middle, they cover for these people. They make sure that nobody asks any questions. They make sure that this is something that is silenced. It's made to look like it's someone else's fault. And after so many times of fighting them, being arrested and put into cars to be used, they would bring other girls, they would bring other kids. And I never met anybody else when it came to them. It was just they were bringing other kids. After so many times, 13, I went into the hospital for a month for trying to kill myself. In that time of being in the hospital, I kept trying to talk to everybody. I kept trying to tell them, they were coming to me and saying, hey, you have to talk to us. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. I've tried to talk since I was a baby. I've exhausted everything and nothing is coming of it. There are people strategically placed everywhere. I was thrown into solitary confinement because of so many things that were going on within the hospital as well, that I was seeing for myself. And it's crazy because so many things were placed in my life that people know me before I know them. I was put into foster care at 13 after my time in the hospital. I thought that everything would calm down from there. I thought everything would be okay. I thought it was going to change, and I was going to be able to go to school and everything would be fine. And that was not the case either. I thought that I was getting into things on my own sometimes. Like I said, people were strategically placed in my life that I never knew who they were. People would walk up to me and say, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful all grown up. And weird things like that I don't know who they are. I don't have a picture of me as a child. I don't know who certain people are or who most people are. Being put into foster care, my foster parents were paid off by, I started talking to some people thinking that I was talking online or, doing things myself. And met up with some people who turned out to be pimps, but they already knew me. I thought I was in a relationship with someone. I thought they loved me, they cared about me, and my foster parents were paid off by them. I'm sorry, my mind is just like, I was in foster homes to group homes that I lost count. I went to 19 high schools in 1 year. I never stayed anywhere long enough to have a home, longer than 2 weeks to a month. At one point, my foster parents didn't speak any English. I was put into homes with teenage male foster siblings. I was in homes where my foster parents would try to do things to me. My foster dads would try to do things to me. I would talk to my social workers. I was hushed and moved again. I never went to one foster home or one group home that wasn't reported because of something bad happening. And it's shocking. I know somebody is like, well, I know some great foster homes and some great foster parents, and there are, but not for me. And I feel like CPS knows where to strategically place people that they want to continue raking in money for. I was deemed as a high-risk kid. I was a problem child. I was someone that you received more money for because of the issues that I had. And I was a runner. I had a lot of things going on. And my social workers they were always covering things. They were always afraid of the repercussions because still what my last name used to be. So they were complicit. My schools were complicit. My parents that were taking me places during the day. I was in schools where I was strategically marked present, even if I wasn't in school. I was able to go back and forth to school sometimes. So some days I was sitting there, but my teachers were as well. My teachers knew about what was going on. My teachers tried to participate in the things that were going on. They felt like if somebody else was hurting me, it wasn't a big deal if they take part in it. One of the major high schools when I was 15, Carter High School in Fontana, California, was marking me present. I started trying to speak to guidance counselors, to my teachers, trying to tell someone, hey, can you guys help me? And I remember a guidance counselor that tried to speak to the SRO, the school resource officer on campus. And the school resource officer's response was, I know this person. I know the pet that I was with. He kept saying, I talk to him all the time. I'll just fix it. I'll just talk to him. After my guidance counselor turned in pictures, tried to call my social worker, was talking to my mom that adopted me now. She was suspended and then eventually was fired without any reason, and someone else took her place. There are underground tunnels that are under the schools, elementary, junior, and high schools all over the place. They exist everywhere. There are underground tunnels that are under the schools, elementary, junior, and high schools all over the place. They exist everywhere. They lead to amusement parks. They lead to hospitals, cemeteries, schools, celebrity homes, psychic shops. They lead everywhere. Yes, there's every means of transportation. There's every walk of life. There's cities. There's different air supply. There's at 15, put me on an order to go to the Getty, Los Angeles, California Museum. I was told I was going to walk through a field trip. I was taken with another girl. I call a friend of mine, and we were put in dresses and sandals. We were taken in a sports car. We're not taken in a sports car. We pulled up to the museum in a sports car. We were told that we were trying to give a different appearance. So we were walking through. I remember walking through kids. I remember walking in and seeing school buses. I remember walking in and seeing children and chaperones through the museum. And I remember people staring at us as if it was as if we were somebody special. We walked through the museum. There are employees that know exactly what's going on in the museum. They block the doors. They know where the entrances and exits are. They take their orders from someone else when someone is trying to get underground through the Getty Los Angeles Museum. I was walked through. I remember taking stairs, going through a garden, taking an elevator, but I was walking. There are many situations in traffic where you can be alert. Some of my parents did not let me see where I was going. Sometimes I was I was carried into a job, dressed, and then placed in a room and waiting for my order because I couldn't move myself. So at this time, I was able to walk. I was able to see what was going on. And I remember walking through. I remember talking to certain people after we got so far. I remember my ears popping. I remember feeling like I'm choking because the air was so weird. We got to a certain point and there was, it looked like a basement. It looked like where they keep things that were not public display in the museum. And after getting so far, we were in tunnels. We were put on cars, drove to a certain point, far. I seen I seen cars, boats, there's trains, there's buses, there is every means of transportation under the ground. There's a city under the ground. There's a different air supply that kicks in after you get so low. After getting down there, I talked to a few people. I was able to meet celebrities, actors. I'm not a person that knows somebody just by name or by face or right away. I was somebody who remembered somebody from a movie or something like that, or something that they did. I was able to speak with somebody that was so cocky, and I remember telling him, I know you from Look Who's Talking. That's all. And I remember everybody laughing at me because I was 15, and I'm like, the only thing that I know you from, John Travolta, is Look Who's Talking. I know there were many comedians, Kathy Griffin, Robin Williams, I was on an order for Joe Biden. I was taken to somewhere where there were an party. There was a contest going on. There's a certain part that has a shrine where I was taken, and what I mean by shrine is it was bones. It was things that have happened to other people. They take shrines. They take like a trophy, whether it was a ripped shirt, panties, hands, pieces of flesh. There's a smell that you can't even flinch towards down there, but you will. There was shrines. There were shrines used for rituals. There's places. There's parts where there's limbs. People cut off limbs and want you to have sex. There's blood. I don't even know who it belongs to. There's people who want to. There's people who have animals. animals. I was taken and told that I had to give a blood to Biden. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I was down there for a while. There's certain people that you don't talk about because you just don't. There were certain people that I seen down there, from Beyonce, Jay-Z. You don't tell on P. Diddy, but P. Diddy, you're nothing to them. You don't count. You're just a toy. You're not essential, as they call them. You're expendable. And as a child in that situation, I wasn't the type of person that was fighting all the time, because I started to learn who I was. I started to learn my parents. I started to learn what I was in. I started to learn that you don't fight. You watch what you say, you watch what you do. And at some point, I stopped fighting people. And I started to accept the fact of what I was told, that I was special enough to be with this person. I was special enough to be in the eyes of a celebrity or somebody who was on the radio or on TV. And I accepted that. While I was down there, there was something that happened. I don't even know what to call it. There was something that sounded like an earthquake, something that sounded like people got into a fight. There was a shoot. I was taken from one room to another, and then from there, someone left me there. I started moving and trying to get out of where I was. I was with the friend that I came in with, who was freaking out. She was hyperventilating. She was crying. She was trying everything to get out, and it made us get deeper in. The lower you go, the harder it is to get out. No one knows where the doors are. No one knows where the exits are. No one knows where some of these tunnels lead to. So it's not as easy as just say, I'm just going to get out, or I'm just going to try to find a way out. If you are walked in, you're escorted in, somebody has to help you get out. After what happened, we had to leave. Again, I don't know what was going on. I'm still not sure what happened that night. Babies. There's a baby farm that exists. There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals. They hiss at you. They act like wild animals. I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now. Your hospitals are complicit in giving babies to babies. And when I say I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital, that people take pride in having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals. I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die. There's so much that goes on. They get away with eating children from many places, and it also feeds their career. Selling your soul doesn't necessarily mean selling your soul for money. It means selling out for things that you're willing to do, things that you're willing to sacrifice and compete with somebody else for, because if somebody is known for ripping a child's face off, frazzle, and cutting their face off to wear it and mock a victim and use it as a dedication to what they call their God, then people compete with that. Everybody is competing with that, trying to do something equal or worse. Yeah, some people act as if they're Christian or other religions that we all know of, but majority of them pray to someone called Baal, or they give back to, they dedicate to. I was dedicated to Satan. I was buried alive. I was saved and told that I had to give my life to them because they saved me. It's in everybody's face. It's something that happens every day.